Today is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. I'm Allison Johnston, Professional Development Coordinator for Maryland's Department of Health's Developmental Disabilities Administration. We welcome you to today's Waiver Amendment 2025 webinar, New and Updated Forms. If you would like to use closed captioning so you can read what is being said, click this button. Sometimes the transcription is not exact, but it's pretty close. All attendees are currently in listen-only mode, and your mics and camera are turned off. Today's presentation is available in the Handouts section. Click here where you see the paperclip to download the presentation. If you have a question you would like us to read and answer, click here where you see the question mark to add your question. If you would like to ask your question aloud during our comments section, please click this button to raise your hand, and we will invite you to unmute during our public comment section of today's presentation. Before we begin our meeting, we want to ensure civility for all meetings. The free expression of diverse viewpoints is a fundamental value of our group. This freedom carries the responsibility to engage respectfully, which means treating one another with dignity and respect in good faith. Uncivil behavior, disruptive conduct, abusive language, threats, or harassment will not be tolerated and may lead to being excused from today's meeting. Thank you for helping to keep this productive and comfortable for everybody. And now I would like to introduce Rhonda Workman, Director of Federal Programs, to begin today's webinar. Good afternoon, Rhonda.
Good afternoon. And good afternoon to everybody who's joined us today. My name is Rhonda Workman, and on behalf of the Developmental Disabilities, I want to welcome you to DDA's Waiver Amendment 2025 New and Updated Forms webinar. Today, we will specifically be talking about forms associated with the self-directed service delivery model. The purpose of this webinar is to share information in plain language about the DDA Medicaid Waiver Amendment, specifically the new and updated forms. We have been offering additional webinars to explain updated or upcoming changes related to the waiver amendment and answering questions. And these webinars have been geared for people receiving services, family members, coordinators of community services, providers, and anyone else who wants to learn more about it. The recorded webinars that we have conducted over the last few weeks are available on the DDA YouTube channel, in addition to the DDA new dedicated Waiver Changes in You webpage. Christy Culbreth is with us today, DDA's Division Chief for Self-Directed Services, who will be presenting information related to our updated self-directed forms and any new self-directed forms. After each section, we will pause to answer a few questions in the question box and take a couple of live questions specific to the topic just shared, specific to the updates that we're sharing. So we look forward to answering your questions and supporting you as we continue to move forward with our amendment. So I'm going to now turn it over to Christy. Next slide, please.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Rhonda. As Rhonda mentioned, I'm Christy Culbreth, the DDA's Division Chief of Self-Directed Services, and I'm so happy to be with you today to discuss self-directed services forms. So this is a webinar specifically regarding forms related to the self-directed services delivery model. Today, we will review updates to the self-directed services forms, including the participant agreement, the self-directed services budget sheet, the budget modification form, and the family of staff form. Then we will review two new self-directed services forms, the day-to-day administrative supports decision tree and the self-directed services orientation checklist. Next slide. Allison, next slide to the participant agreement. Great. First, let's begin with the updates to the participant agreement. Next slide. So, what is the participant agreement? The participant agreement documents your request for assistance in self-directing your services and your team members' agreement to assist and support you with the specific work or task described in the agreement. The participant agreement is required for all people who self-direct their services. It begins and lasts for 12 months or up to 1 calendar year and may be ended or changed by you at any time. Next slide. The participant agreement is required for all participants each person-centered planning year. The participant agreement must be included when the person-centered plan is submitted in LTSS Maryland. LTSS Maryland is the state's data management system for home and community-based services. It includes information related to DDA applications, DDA's Medicaid waiver application packet, case management activities, and person-centered plans. The participant agreement was updated for changes on October 6, 2025. It should be used the next time you need to complete the participant agreement. Now we'll walk through each section of the agreement. Next slide. Page 3 of the participant agreement explains the requirements of the agreement. The participant and all of their person-centered plan team members should be listed. Next slide. In the participant agreement, you have 3 options to choose from. Option 1, I choose myself as the primary person responsible for managing my employer authority and budget authority. This option is available for anyone 18 years or older. Next slide. Option 2. I choose to appoint a designated representative who will be responsible for managing my employer authority and budget authority. This option is required for anyone under the age of 18 years old. This option is available for anyone over the age of 18 years old. Next slide. Option 3. I choose to appoint people who are a part of my person-centered plan team to assist me with specific tasks related to managing my employer and budget authority. This option is available to anyone over the age of 18 years old. Option 3 includes a list of tasks that you will assign to your team members. Next slide. If you choose option 3, you can identify team members who will assist you to complete tasks related to your employer and budget authority. You are always the final decision maker. You can ask for help with some tasks and decide to complete others yourself. If you choose a team member, they will be considered the point of contact for you for that specific task. Next slide. Financial Management and Counseling Services Authorization. You or your designated representative may give approval for others to contact your financial management and counseling services provider. The approval is given in a section of the participant agreement. The approval does not grant anyone the power to make decisions about your services or supports. The approval does allow for others to discuss issues and address questions with your financial management and counseling services provider. Next slide. The participant agreement includes a section for required signatures. Signing the participant agreement acknowledges that the document has been reviewed and the signer agrees with its contents. All team members mentioned in the agreement must sign the agreement. Next slide. Let's review an example. Mel Jenkins is completing their participant agreement. They're meeting with their person-centered planning team that includes their coordinator of community services, Elizabeth Jones, their sister, Lisa Jenkins, their support broker, Jerry Smith, their personal support employee, Terry Hunt, their community development services employee, Mason Leonard, and their friend and emergency backup, Bev Cooley. Next slide. In this example, Mel has chosen option 3 of the participant agreement. They choose to appoint a listed group of people from their team to assist with them with some tasks related to self-directing their services. Next slide. In this example, Mel is giving their support broker, Jerry Smith, authorization to contact their financial management and counseling services provider. Mel understands that Jerry will not make decisions about Mel's services or supports. They want Jerry to be able to call the financial management and counseling services provider to ask questions for them. Next slide. Because Mel chose option 3, they will assign certain tasks to team members. Here we see that Mel has assigned their support broker, Jerry Smith, the task of assisting them in finding employees and managing and maintaining applicable employee records. They have assigned their sister, Lisa, to help them review employee timesheets with them. Next slide. Here we see in the example that the team has signed the form. Next slide. So what has changed with the participant agreement? We've updated the participant agreement to note that if you are under the age of 18, you must name a designated representative to manage your services. And that's option 2 of the form. Everyone will need to use this new form for your next plan or immediately if something changes in your situation. I'll turn it over to Rhonda to facilitate our first round of questions and answers.
Thank you, Christy. Just want to share that a few people are letting us know that the slides are not changing for them. Please note we are on slide 26, which says questions right now. If your slides are not moving and frozen, you may want to try to refresh your screen or log off and log back in because there may be something going on with your internet or your connection, but we are on slide 26. So Christy, we had a couple questions come in. First question, are wet signatures required on the participant agreement?
That's a great question. We do want to make sure that participants are signing the participant agreement, but that can either be a wet signature or an electronic signature that includes the encryption to show that it's an electronic signature.
Thank you, Christy. Next question. Does the coordinator of community services need to be listed on the participant agreement financial management counseling services authorization section?
No, this coordinator of community services does not need to be listed there. They're already assigned in the financial management and counseling services providers portals as someone who can contact the financial management and counseling services provider.
Great, thank you. We're going to take 2 questions for hands raised. So if we could open up Stephen's line. And Stephen, if you have a question related to the participant agreement, we'd welcome it.
It wasn't a question, it was just advising you that the slides were not moving. So no questions right now.
Thank you. All right, let's go to Mary Beth, please.
There we go. My question is back on the slide where you gave the example of the team members being listed. Is it required that all of the personal supports and community development and respite employees be listed on this as a team member, or only those that are going to be assigned a task under that next part of the document where tasks are assigned?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it really is who is a member of the participants' person-centered planning team. So who is present when the form is being completed.
Thank you so much for sharing your question. Let's take the next hand. I think it's Oladipo. Sorry for mispronouncing your name.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome
Hello.
today. Do you have a
Yeah.
question related to the participant agreement?
Actually, yes. My first question was, does this apply to DDA providers or is just the self-directed services?
What a great question. Thank you for sharing that. Today's information all applies to the self-directed service delivery model. So we're going over updated and new forms. It does not.
And also, can I ask one last question?
We're just doing one question at a, per
Oh, okay.
person, just to respect everybody's opportunity there. So if you'd like to put it in the chat, we can take a look at that too. So thank you for the question. I know we have others that are coming in. We will go to the next section and then we will come back at the end. We've got a lot of information we want to share with you today and demo some of the new forms. So can we go to the next section, please?
Thank you. Yeah, Rhonda's absolutely right. We have a lot to go through. Let's review the updates to the self-directed services budget sheet. Next slide. The self-directed services budget sheet is a fillable Microsoft Excel spreadsheet that gathers information related to your person-centered plan approved services. The budget sheet includes the number of hours you will receive from your waiver services, the rates and wages you pay employees, vendors, and providers up to the reasonable and customary standard. Please keep in mind that you can budget for rates and wages at a higher amount than what you may offer to employees, providers, and vendors. Your financial management and counseling services providers will have forms for you to complete to let them know the rate and wages you want to pay each employee, vendor, and DDA provider. You and your team should make sure you're checking that all those employees, vendors, and providers are being paid what you would like to pay them. The budget sheet also includes taxes and other employers' costs and any benefits you would provide to employees. Next slide. Your self-directed services budget sheet is created by you and the people on your chosen team. Your coordinator of community services helps you fill out the budget sheet. The budget sheet is submitted to your financial management and counseling services provider for review. Your financial management and counseling services provider makes sure that your budget sheet matches what is approved in your plan and follows the DDA's reasonable and customary standards. Next slide. Your self-directed services budget sheet must be submitted by your financial management and counseling services provider must be submitted to your financial management and counseling services provider after your person-centered plan is reviewed each year. The sections of the budget sheet that are in yellow may be used. White and blue boxes will automatically calculate. The budget sheet was updated for the changes on October 6, 2025, and it will be used the next time you need to complete a budget sheet. Next slide. We're going to have a bit of an interactive time in this section. So when vendors and DDA providers are budgeted for in the self-directed services budget sheet, taxes and employer costs are included in the rate. The way the following services are budgeted for when using a vendor or DDA provider is very similar. So we're going to walk through two of those services here. So those services are personal supports, shared living, supported living, respite care services, nursing support services, housing support services, day-to-day administrative supports, employment services, community development services, and day habilitation. Please keep in mind that all of these waiver services may be budgeted to allow a vendor or provider to be paid for, but we are going to cover two of them as I share my screen now. So I'm going to share my screen to walk you through how to budget for vendors and DDA providers in the budget sheet. So Allison, I'm going to share my screen. All right, so I've got our budget sheet up here. As a reminder, quickly, when you're completing a budget sheet, you would include the person's name. So we'll use our Mel Jenkins that we've been using. The amount that's in the budget and the detailed service authorization is the amount that you would put in this box. The arrow says enter the approved DDA budget allocation from the DDA detailed service authorization here. I've put $80,000 here just as a placeholder for our example. There's a drop-down menu to choose whether the person-centered plan is initial, annual, revised, or if the participant is making a financial management and counseling services provider change. For this example, we'll choose annual person-centered plan. The effective date and annual plan date are dates that your coordinator of community service would know based on your plan and what you've requested. For this example, we'll make that effective an annual plan date today. The number of months left in the plan and the number of weeks in the plan automatically calculate. So we see that there would be 12 months in the plan and 52.143 weeks left in the plan. Now, as I promised, we're going to go through how to budget for a vendor or DDA provider. First, I'm going to show you how to budget for a day habilitation DDA provider. So I'm going to move down to row 240. Here you see we have day habilitation here. So for Mel, they know that they need 10 hours per week of day habilitation supports. So we'll put that 10 hours per week there. They've agreed with their DDA provider that they'll pay $70 per hour. So we'll put that 70 here in this box. And the budget sheet automatically calculated to let us know that there are 52.143 weeks in the plan. So when we click that, we see that the budget sheet automatically calculates that amount here for the DDA provider. This is how you would budget to pay for a DDA provider to provide day habilitation services. I'll give another example of how to budget for a community development services vendor. So we'll move up to side 237 right here, community development vendor or provider. For our example, we'll say that Mel needs 20 hours per week of community development supports, and they've contracted with a vendor to pay $60 per hour. And again, the plan has 52.143 weeks in the year. So this is how you would calculate and budget to pay a community development vendor or a vendor in this case, in this example. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and have Allison share hers again, and we'll move on to budgeting for employees. When employees are budgeted for in the self-directed services budget sheet, you must include taxes and all employer cost. That percentage is always 14%. Participants can hire an employee to provide the following services: support broker services, personal support services, respite care services, nursing support services, day-to-day administrative supports, community development services, and ongoing job supports and follow-along supports. All right, I'm going to share my screen and share how to budget for two different types of employees. All right. So in our first example, I'm going to share how to budget for respite part-time employees. Mel has some supports that they get from their family, but they know that they need 30 hours of respite supports for 3 weeks in the year in order to provide support to their primary caregiver. So for that 30 hours, so 30 hours times the 3 weeks that Mel needs will equal 90 total hours of respite that they need for the year. So we'll put 90 here in the respite staff number of hours. Because this is an employee, Mel has employer authority to choose the rate per hour that they would want to pay the employee within the reasonable and customary standard. The reasonable and customary maximum for respite is $21.63. Mel wants to begin paying employees or pay up to $20 per hour, which is under the reasonable and customary standard. So when we put that 90 and 20 together, the budget sheet automatically calculates to be $1,800. However, because this is an employee, we also need to ensure that we're paying the employer taxes and other costs. So we always go down to the taxes percentage here and indicate 14%. 14% is the percentage across all it's across all line items. Great. Now I'm going to clear this out and share an example of how to budget for a full-time employee with benefits. So I'll move up to row 42 at personal supports. Mel knows that they want to hire a full-time personal support employee to work for them. They want to pay them $25 per hour, which is under the reasonable and customary standard of $32.18. They want to provide benefits to this employee because they'll be full-time. They want to offer 2 weeks of vacation, and they want to make sure that they are budgeting to pay for first aid and CPR that employee might need. So let's do that together. The employee would be working 40 hours per week at $25 per hour for 52.143 weeks. That budgets the wages for the employee. We do want to make sure we go down to taxes to put that 14% for taxes and other employee costs. Now, Mel wants to provide benefits to this full-time employee. They want to provide pay time off at 2 weeks. So over here in the notes, we'll put full-time employee 2 weeks vacation, which would be 40 hours times 2 weeks times $25 per hour, which totals to $2,000. So in this line over here by benefits, they'll put $2,000 here. Because we've included that percentage over in the employee taxes will be budgeted for benefits as well. And training costs, we know that they're going to want to pay up to $150 for employee first aid and CPR. So we'll put that note there. Under training, we'll list one staff, and the cost per staff would be $150. And list that there. And that is how we budget for employees in the self-directed services budget sheet. I'll stop sharing my screen and have Allison share hers again so we can go back to the webinar. Great. Next slide. There are other waiver services that are unique in the budget sheet that require additional information. So those services are support broker services, living caregiver supports, individual and family directed goods and services, assistive technology, remote support services, environmental assessments and modifications, vehicle modifications, transition services, and transportation services. For our example, we're going to budget for individual and family directed goods and services because that will show the breadth of how to budget for these types of waiver services. So for the last time, I'm going to share my screen and go to the budget sheet. On row 132, we have the individual and family directed goods and services. There's a new feature in this budget sheet that allows you to see how much you budget for in this line item. It will turn red if you budget over the cap of $5,000. So, and that's this box right here that lists this green box that says 0 right now, it will go up. And if it goes over 5,000, it will turn red. So for this example, Mel wants to budget for a gym membership with an individual and family directed goods and services. They live on the Eastern Shore, and so they review the reasonable and customary standard rate and see that a gym membership is up to $62 per month. So we'll add gym membership here. And then we calculate that $62 times 12 for all 12 months is $744. Mel is also living alone, and they want to learn this, they want to grow in their skill to make food for themselves. So they add an air fryer to their budget under individual and family directed goods and services. They find one online for $55, which is below the reasonable and customary standard of $75. So we'll add air fryer here and $55. You'll see that the budget sheet calculates to be $799 so that participants and their teams can see how much have been budgeted in individual and family directed goods and services. You will note if I add more funds to the individual and family directed goods and services, you'll see that that box turns red to let you know that that is over the cap of $5,000 per year. I will let Allison share her screen again, and we'll move on with our slides. Next slide. So what has changed with the self-directed services budget sheet? This form was updated to be easier to understand and use. For example, individual and family directed goods and services lines now help you see and stay within that $5,000 limit. You should use the new form the next time you need to create or change your budget. I'll turn it back over to Rhonda to facilitate our next round of questions.
Thank you, Christy. Really appreciate that. A couple people, one person has noted that the new budget sheet appears to be locked. I believe that has been corrected. There was something that in the upload to the system, so that has been corrected. So please, if you go to the website, you'll be able to look at that. Let me see. Christy, you gave a demo of some benefits, and a question was, are people able to offer health insurance for employees? That would be another option, correct, based on the manual rules?
Absolutely. Based on the manual and the rules, participants can offer health insurance reimbursement up to the reasonable and customary standard, what's listed there.
Great. And Christy, another question, what is the process if an individual requests to switch to another financial management counseling service provider? Where can we obtain the transition forms to complete the transfer? Can you talk about what they would do in the budget sheet and the process?
Absolutely. So the first thing to do would be to create a new budget sheet for the rest of the year. There is a PCP option, the person-centered plan option in the drop down that shows if you are creating a budget sheet to change financial management and counseling services providers. After that, we encourage the team to connect with their outgoing financial management and counseling services provider to make sure that they have all of the documents from them that they need to transition, and then connect with their new financial management and counseling services provider to make sure that that transition is smooth. Our regional office is also available for technical assistance as needed in this area.
Thank you, Christy. And if individuals are requesting individual and family directed goods and services, do they put that on the budget sheet, or what would be the process for that?
That's a great question. So it can be included in the budget sheet. We recommend it, but it is not required. In order to request individual and family directed goods and services, a participant needs to request it using the individual and family directed goods and services request form. That form is available on the DDA website, and we review that form in detail in the Self-Directed Services training series in Module 13. So we recommend that all teams go there for support as needed, but that form has to be completed and reviewed and approved by the DDA in order for a person to get access to individual and family directed goods and services.
Great, thank you, Christy. One more, and then we'll take two hands that have been raised. Is there any exception to the rule regarding the $5,000 individual and family directed goods and services? Can people go over that limit?
Beginning on October 6th, the limit in our waiver is $5,000 for individual and family directed goods and services. If you have requested more than that already in your plan, those services will continue through the end of your plan year. If you, any services that have been approved will continue through the end of your plan year. If you, after October 6th, request a goods and service and that amount goes over $5,000, it cannot be approved. So it does need to stay within that $5,000 amount after October 6th. I hope that makes sense.
Great, thank you, Christy. Okay, we're going to go to Rick. Rick, do you have a question related to the self-directed budget sheet? Please bear with us as we try to connect Rick. And Allison, I know we've had some challenges sometimes connecting, so if we're having a technical issue, we can go to the next person. But let's see if we can get Rick connected. Allison, can you give us an update?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, we're having some feedback, Rick.
All right, sorry about that.
Hi, welcome. Do you have a question about the self-directed budget
My
sheet?
question is, in terms of the 14% taxes that are held for family and staff, they don't pay that tax. So where is that accounted for in the budget that that's either returned or not kept by the FMCS?
Yes, sir. Keep in mind that the 14% are taxes and other employer costs, including any insurance policies that the financial management and counseling services providers purchase on behalf of the participant. So that 14% is not a negotiable percent. It is across the board for everyone who self-directs.
But they're not paying the tax for they're not paying the payroll taxes that they have to match for a regular employee for the family of staff. So they're still getting paid for that, even though they're not paying it out.
Yeah, thank you, Rick, for sharing that. I know we've had some discussions about this in other situations. So as Christy said, the current standard in the program rule is 14% for taxes, and that's what's utilized. Thank you for sharing your question. Let's go to Robin.
Just to piggyback on Rick's question, I have a staff who is exempt from taxes, and she said that it appears that they're taking taxes out on her. Does that 14% still apply to her, since that's her salary for CDS staff?
So keep in
Yes,
mind that what's budgeted aren't the employee taxes that are being paid. So they are employer taxes that are paid by the employer, who is the participant. If someone is not sure that the correct taxes are being taken out of their paychecks, they should reach out to the financial management and counseling services provider to make sure that their withholding forms are correct. So we're talking about maybe two different things here. In the budget sheet, we're budgeting for employer taxes and employer costs, not the withholdings that come from someone's paycheck.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your questions. We're going to go to the next section.
All right, we're going to get started discussing the budget modification form. Next slide. Budget modifications allow for you to make changes to your self-directed services budget sheet during the year. Budget modifications can be submitted to your financial management and counseling services provider when you need to change your budget. Next slide. Budget modifications can be used to complete the following actions: to increase or decrease staff wages or vendor provider rates, to add, delete, increase, or decrease employee-related expenses associated with employee benefits, to change funding associated with taxes, to change the use of staff to a vendor or provider for the same type and unit of services, to change the use of a vendor or provider to hire a staff person for the same type of unit of services. Next slide. Continuing the budget modification actions, budget modifications can be used to increase respite camp up to the Medicaid waiver program service limit that is currently set at $7,248 per plan year, to move funding associated with ongoing job supports, community development supports, support broker services, personal supports, and personal support enhanced, and day habilitation up to the approved number of hours per week, or to change individual and family directed goods and services within applicable limits. Next slide. Your self-directed budget sheet must, this is a similar form. So your self-directed services budget modification form should be submitted to the financial management and counseling services provider anytime you need to change your budget. The sections of the budget modification form are yellow and may be used. White and blue boxes will automatically calculate. The budget modification form is updated for changes related to October 6th, 2025. It should be used the next time you need to change your budget. We'll now review the sections of the budget modification form. Next slide. In the first rows of the budget modification, you should include your personal information, such as your name, the date you and your team are completing the modification, the annual plan date, that's the date your plan starts, your financial management and counseling services provider, and the region of Maryland that you live in. Next slide. In the next rows, there are boxes to put your budget information. The DDA budget allocation. This comes from your person-centered plan. Your self-directed services total, the amount you budgeted for when you complete the self-directed services budget. The boxes automatically calculate what your unallocated funds amount is. Next slide. In the services column, list the services that are being reduced. If unallocated funds are being used, write unallocated funds. In the amount column, list how much is being taken away or reduced. The form calculates the total. Next slide. In the next boxes, you would list the services. In the services column, you would list what services are being added or increased. In the amount column, you list how much is being added or increased. The form calculates the total. Next slide. The test box will be green when the totals match. The test box will be red when the totals do not match. Totals of increasing and decreasing must match in Section 1 in order for the financial management and counseling services provider to process the budget modification. Next slide. In Section 2, include a few sentences about why the modification is being completed. If Section 2 is not complete, the modification cannot be processed by the financial management and counseling services provider. Next slide. You or your designated representative must sign the budget modification. Your coordinator of community services must attest and sign the budget modification. Next slide. Now we will review another example. Our friend Mel Jenkins currently receives 20 hours of personal supports per week from a DDA provider. Mel wants to hire an employee to provide those 20 hours of personal supports instead. Mel wants to pay this employee $28 per hour, which is under the reasonable and customary standard. There are 30 weeks left in Mel's plan year. Next slide. Mel's name is listed here. Then a budget modification date of today, October 1st, 2025. Their annual plan date is March 24th, 2025. The financial management and counseling services provider is GT Independence, and they live on the Eastern Shore. Mel was authorized for $100,000 and budgeted $72,000. Next slide. So to complete the action that Mel desires, we'll do the calculations for the budget modification. There are 20 hours per week. The number of weeks left in the plan year are 30 weeks. The rate of pay they want to pay this employee is $28 per hour. 20 hours times 30 weeks times $28 is $16,800. The 14% for taxes and other employer costs are $2,352, 14% of the $16,800. Next slide. We see here that Mel is reducing personal supports DDA provider by $19,152. They're increasing personal supports employee by $16,800 and personal supports employee taxes by $2,352. Next slide. The totals being increased and decreased must match. The test box is green, showing that the amounts match. Next slide. Mel adds the reason for the modification. Mel wants to hire an employee to provide personal supports instead of the DDA provider Mel was using. Because the employee is part-time, the employee will not offer any benefits. Next slide. Mel and their coordinator of community services signed the budget modification form. Next slide. So what has changed with the budget modification form? This form was also updated to be clearer. It now shows that the individual and family directed goods and services are limited to $5,000 per year. You should use this updated form the next time you make a budget change. I'll hand it back over to Rhonda to facilitate our next question and answer portion.
Thank you, Christine. We're getting a variety of different questions that are not focused on our topic, so we're going to try to just focus in on the topic that we just shared, and then we can come back at the end. Christy, for budget modifications, are they submitted directly to the financial management and counseling services, or are they submitted to DDA?
Great question.
Or both?
They should be submitted directly to the financial management and counseling services provider, and that provider will review the budget modification and process it if they can.
Great. So on the budget mod on slide 39, we say is used to move funding, not the number of hours of services or changing a service. Can you review with us again what options are available under a budget mod? Chrissy, are you able to hear me?
I was just talking to you in a mute.
Yep.
I absolutely can go over the actions of a budget modification. Budget modifications can be used to increase or decrease staff wages or vendor or provider rates, to add, delete, increase, or decrease employee-related expenses associated with employee benefits, to change funding associated with taxes, to change the use of a staff to a vendor or provider for the same type of unit, for the same type of service and units of service, to change the use of a vendor or provider to hiring a staff person for the same type and unit of services, to increase respite camp up to the Medicaid waiver program limit, to move funding associated with ongoing job supports, community development supports, support broker services, personal supports, and day habilitation up to the approved number of hours per week, or to change individual and family directed goods and services.
Thank you, Christy. We've gotten a couple suggestions on maybe some additional future edits to the budget modification sheet, so thank you for sharing that. Let's go ahead and take the question from Lori. Allison, any update on opening Lori's mic?
Her mic is open and ready for her to speak.
Okay, great. Lori, are you able to share your question on budget modifications? Okay, Lori, if you could put your question in the chat box, we will try to circle back to you. I know we've got some other ones that are in different topics, but let's go to the next section so that we can get through the materials and we will circle back with the questions. So let's go to the next section, please.
Great. Now we will review updates to the family as staff form. Next slide. So what is the family as staff form? The DDA Self-Directed Services Family as Staff form is used to inform your team, coordinator of community services, financial management, and counseling services provider, and the DDA if you're hiring a relative, legally responsible person, or a legal guardian to provide and approve self-directed service. Next slide. Before we review the form, let's review these important definitions. The definition of relative has been updated in the Community Pathways Waiver and in the Family of Staff form. A relative is a natural or adoptive parent, step-parent, grandparent, step-parent, step-grandparent, child, stepchild, sibling, step-sibling, aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew. The bolded terms of grandparent, step-grandparent, stepchild, step-sibling, aunt, uncle, niece, and nephew have been added to the relative definition. Next slide. A legally responsible person is a person who, according to the rules in Maryland, has a legal duty to take care of someone else. This can be a parent of someone who is under 18 years old, whether they are born to them or adopted. A person who is officially responsible for a well-being of another person as their legal guardian, or someone else who is legally in charge of taking care of a minor, like a foster parent or a family member chosen by a court. Next slide. A legal guardian is either a natural or adoptive parent of a participant under the age of 18 or an individual who has been appointed by a court order as guardian of the person. Next slide. Now let's review the sections of the family of staff form. Section 1. In the family staff form, you have 3 options to choose from. Option 1. I do not want to hire a relative, legally responsible person, or legal guardian. Option 2. I want to hire a relative, legally responsible person, or a legal guardian to be my support broker. Or option 3. I want to hire a relative, legally responsible person, or legal guardian to be my direct support professional staff. Next slide. Here is a screenshot of this portion of the form that shows the 3 options. Next slide. If options 2 or 3 are selected, you should list the name of each relative, legally responsible person, or legal guardian, the relationship they have with you, the waiver services that they will provide, the rate of pay, and the number of hours that they will work, up to 40 hours per week. Next slide. In section 2, you should also describe why hiring the persons listed in the form is in the participant's best interest. Describe how having a relative, legally responsible person, or a legal guardian as staff will help you to be more integrated in the community. Describe how having a relative, legally responsible person, or legal guardian as staff will increase your independence. Describe how having a relative, legally responsible person, or legal guardian as staff will expand your circle of support or natural supports. And describe any special circumstances. Next slide. To complete the family of staff form, when you've chosen options 2 or 3 and you want to hire a relative, legally responsible person, or legal guardian, you must attest or agree that the following are true. That this is your choice and is supported by your team. That you and your team will review and discuss if the staff you have chosen are meeting your needs at least once per year or when needed. That there are a lack of qualified staff to meet your needs. That the staff listed will provide no more than 40 hours per week. Next slide. That the staff listed have unique abilities to meet your needs, such as the knowledge of who you are, the ability to communicate with you, their availability, their connection to the community, or any special skills or training. That the staff listed will increase your independence and community participation, integration, and belonging. Next slide. And that the participant agreement identifies people beyond those family members who will support you to make your own decisions, and that the staff listed in the agreement are they will implement your person-centered plan and provide services as required by the federal and state rules, laws, and regulations of the program. Next slide. You and your authorized representative, if applicable, must sign the family of staff form. A legal guardian may sign the form. Your designated representative, if applicable, must sign the form. Next slide. Let's review another example of of our friend Mel of the family staff form this time. Mel Jenkins has hired their nephew, Jerry Smith, to be their support broker. Because Jerry is Mel's nephew, no other relative, legally responsible person, or legal guardian can work for Mel. Next slide. Here we see that Mel has chosen option 2 on the family as staff form because Mel is hiring a relative to be their support broker. Next slide. Here we see Jerry listed as Mel's nephew and that he will be Mel's support broker. Mel will pay him $30 per hour They plan to have Jerry work 1 to 2 hours per week, keeping in mind that what's authorized in the plan would be up to 4 hours of support broker services per month. Next slide. Mel answers the questions that are on the form. They say that Jerry has been a support broker for a long time and that he has a lot of experience, which is good for Mel. Mel says that Jerry is familiar with their neighborhood and will be available to them and what will be available to them. And they say that because Jerry is a professional support broker who works for a lot of people, he will be able to connect them with more people who can help them. Next slide. Here we see that Mel has signed the family as staff form. Next slide. So what has changed with the family as staff form? The definition of relative has been updated. This form must be used when relatives, legally responsible persons, and legal guardians provide services to you, and you must use this updated form then in your next plan year or if something has changed. I'll turn it back over to Rhonda for additional questions.
Thank you, Christy. Appreciate you sharing all this information. For the family of staff form, do you need to put paid time off on the form if you're offering it to your family of staff?
No, benefits do not need to be included on the family of staff form at this time. But it's a good suggestion.
Next question, does this form get completed only if the relative lives with the participant and provided services, or does this form have to be completed if the relative provides services even if they do not live with the participant?
So that's a great question. The family of staff form should be completed if any relative, legally responsible person, or legal guardian provides any waiver service to the participant, whether or not they live with them. Living with the person does not is not really a factor here. They do need to complete it when a relative, legally responsible person, or legal guardian provides services as an employee, as a vendor, or for a vendor, or for a DDA provider. In all of those situations, the family of staff form should be completed to report those relatives.
Great. Let's take Ann's question, Allison, and while we're opening Ann's line, we have a few DDA providers that are on with us and wondering if this information applies to them. Some of the information we're sharing, if you are supporting a DDA participant that's using the self-directed service model, they may, have someone in their participant agreement that will help to review or support them in timesheets and invoices, which would include for the traditional providers that may be providing services for a self-directed participant. But all our forms are specific for, that we're talking about today, will be specific for people self-directing. So thank you for joining us, and we hope if you're supporting people self-directing, and we encourage you to, that please stay on and share your questions too. So, Anne, do you have a question related to the family of staff form for us?
Yes, I do. Hi, this is Anne McKegg. I wanted to ask, both myself and my daughter are employees of my son as family of staff, currently on his approved PCP, which was just approved at the beginning of September. My question is, the example you gave, I thought it said that the person had, the makeup example, the person had a nephew and therefore no other relatives. Is that correct, that one of us is going to have to leave his employment?
So the example is for a relative to provide support broker services. So this is
Oh, okay.
not
I'm
a
sorry.
change.
I just wanted to make sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if we're both approved for personal supports, then there's no issue.
Yeah, so I think, and everybody on the phone, we all have different situations in terms of if we're using family of staff and different relatives. And it also, some of the people that are in the program, the participants or family members, may be minors. So we're sharing information today because there's different rules if there's a minor in terms of using option 2, and then whether or not other relatives can provide supports, etc. So our self-directed service manual has been updated to align with the waiver amendment. It is on our website. And so for individual specific situations, please reach out to our regional offices directly so that we can kind of walk through and fully understand everything about your situation. We don't want to mislead you if there's additional information that we don't have. So really individual specific cases, if you could please reach out to us directly, we would more than be happy to support you with that. So thank you, Anne, for reaching out to us. Let's go to our next section. And then again, we will come back, but we want to make sure we get through some of the material.
Absolutely. Let's move on to some new forms. Our first new form that we'll review today is the day-to-day administrative supports decision tree. Next slide. So, what is the day-to-day administrative supports decision tree? If you're asking for day-to-day administrative supports in your person-centered plan, the decision tree must be filled out and submitted with your person-centered plan. If you are not asking for these supports, the decision tree form does not need to be completed. Next slide. All team members who are present to complete the decision tree should be listed in the team members in attendance section. Next slide. Section 1, task identification. The team should check all tasks that apply to you. This includes tasks that you can complete independently and with support. So as a note, those tasks are scheduling medical appointments, scheduling house maintenance, scheduling repairs, scheduling snow removal, and scheduling lawn care. If checked, provide specific details about the task as it relates to you in the notes line by the task. Next slide. Section 2, participant assessment. For the tasks that apply to you, check whether you can complete those tasks independently, if you need support to complete the tasks, or cannot complete the tasks. In the task column, type what task you need support with. Next slide. Section 3, available supports. For the tasks that you cannot complete independently, complete Section 3 to note what help or resources are available to you. In the task column, you would type those tasks that you need support with. In the what support, training, or education is available for the participant to learn how to complete this task column, include what support, training, and education is available for you to learn how to complete those tasks. In the which team members can support the participant to complete the task column, identify any team members who can support you with the task. And in the what waiver services does the participant receive that can support the participant to complete the task column, type the waiver services that are available to the participant that could help you with the task. Next slide. Section 4, unmet needs. After completing Section 3, list any task where you still need help that isn't available. Again, in the task column, you would type the task that you need support with. In the reason support is unavailable column, add notes regarding why there is no support available to support you with the task. In the day-to-day administrative supports is the day-to-day administrative supports needed for this task column, note yes or no if you need day-to-day administrative support for the task. And in the last column, in the day-to-day administrative supports are needed for this task, note how many hours per month are needed. Next slide. In the total hours being requested for day-to-day administrative supports box, type how many hours of day-to-day administrative support hours are being requested per month. Up to 10 hours per month in quarter-hour increments can be requested. The total number of hours being requested should be included in the person-centered plan detailed service authorization. Next slide. Attestation and signatures. You and your coordinator of community services must review and sign the decision tree form. Next slide. Now, let us review an example of the day-to-day administrative supports decision tree. Mel Jenkins is filling out the decision tree with their team. This team meeting includes their coordinator of community services, Elizabeth Jones, their sister, Lisa Jenkins, their support broker, Jerry Smith, and their friend and emergency backup, Bev Cooley. Next slide. Section 1, Mel has identified the tasks that apply to them. So those tasks are scheduling medical appointments and scheduling snow removal. They know that they'll need help with scheduling medical appointments, particularly therapy appointments. So they note that in the notes section. And they know they need support to call for snow removal from the front porch if it snows. So they note those details. Next slide. In section 2, Mel and their team add those tasks to review them. They note for scheduling therapy appointments that Mel cannot complete that task, and for scheduling snow removal from the front porch that Mel can complete the task with support. Next slide. In section 3, Mel begins to review the supports that are available to help them complete those tasks that are needed. For scheduling the therapy appointments, the team discusses that Bev, that's Mel's friend, can schedule time to meet over Zoom to schedule those medical appointments. But for snow removal, the team discusses that the employees and Bev may not be available if it snows to help schedule the snow removal on time. Next slide. So Mel and their team have identified the unmet need related to snow removal. Because remember, Mel found support in Bev to schedule those medical appointments. The reason Mel doesn't have support for snow removal is that their employees and Bev may not be available when it snows. So day-to-day administrative supports are needed. The team notes that the support would be less than an hour per month and only in the winter months. So they plan to request 1/2 hour per month. Next slide. Here we see that Mel has requested 0.5 hours per month. Next slide. Finally, Mel and their coordinator of community services signed the form. The signatures show that the team met and considered all resources available to support before requesting day-to-day administrative supports. Next slide. Decision tree upload and review. If day-to-day administrative supports are being requested in a person-centered plan that is submitted on or after October 6th, the decision tree form must be in the plan. It must be completed and uploaded into the document section of the person-centered plan. Documents should use the uploading format here, decision tree dot participant's last name, first name dot date. So for example, decision tree dot Brown Anna dot 11/13/25. It will be reviewed by the DDA to confirm any assessed need for day-to-day administrative supports in the person-centered plan. Next slide. As a reminder, if you are currently receiving day-to-day administrative supports, you can continue to do so in the way you are currently receiving them until your next plan year. The updates to day-to-day administrative supports will apply to you in your next person-centered plan. This is when you will work with your team to complete the decision tree. And this is when day-to-day administrative supports will be limited to up to 10 hours per month. I'll turn it over to Rhonda for questions.
Thank you, Christy. Question, are the tasks in section 2, 3, and 4 the same task as listed in section 1? So they're trying to connect the different parts of the form.
Absolutely. So yes, the goal would be that you, in section 1, you would identify the tasks and you would include those same tasks in sections 2 and sections 3. Yes. So they are the same and they're
Thank you.
specific to the person.
Great. And then we had a question, is the day-to-day administrative supports now entered into the plan service authorization section?
Beginning on October 6th, so on Monday, it will be an option to request in the person-centered plan. To request that, you would request it like you do all waiver services within your person-centered plan, and you'll need to make sure that the decision tree is uploaded with your person-centered plan.
Thank you. All right, let's go to Karen online and before we go to the next section.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, Karen, do you have a question related to the decision tree, please?
Well, I had a clarification, and I believe I was unmuted a minute ago regarding something that Ms. Colworth said, and I just wanted to clarify. She specifically spoke to the example with Mel having a family member be a support broker. And she specifically said that he was going to request, I think it was like 1 or 2 hours per month, and that he was only allowed to request 4 hours per month. And I just wanted to clarify that because I thought the support broker rules said that in the DSA, you could only request 4 hours per month, but that you could use up to 30 hours per month using the participant could use it using their unallocated funds. And I just wanted to clarify because I think that could be very confusing to people.
Sure, absolutely. Christy was correct, and you are correct in that the person-centered plan, detailed service authorization section, only up to 4 hours per month can be requested, with the exception of the initial startup, which is 15 hours. And then as per the approved waiver, individuals can utilize in their budget with unallocated funds up to 30 hours, but that would not be authorized in the person-centered plan. That would be limited up to the 4 hours per month. So yeah, there's just a little bit nuances to that. So thank you for asking that question so we can clarify.
So it would be authorized in the budget sheet, but not in the PCP. Is that what you're saying?
Not authorized in the person-centered plan, in the detailed service authorization. It could be authorized in the budget sheet, yes. Yep, thank you for asking that question. All right, let's go to our next section.
All right, we are on our last new form, the Self-Directed Services Orientation Checklist. So, next slide. The Self-Directed Services Orientation is an opportunity for you and your team to learn about the rights and responsibilities of self-directed services. The orientation helps you and your team be prepared to begin self-directed services. Next slide. Your coordinator of community services facilitates the orientation meeting. You will be present and you can invite any team members that you would like to the orientation meeting. It's important to remember that during this time of orientation, a participant would not have hired a support broker. Support brokers should not attend the orientation meeting. Support brokers review the content that's in the orientation meeting when they're certified each year and do not need to be present for this meeting. The orientation meeting may be virtual or online or in person. The orientation meeting should be scheduled quickly after you request it, within 10 business days. Next slide. The self-directed services orientation consists of 3 the first 3 modules of the Self-Directed Services training series. Module 1, Self-Direction Overview. Module 2, the Self-Directed Services Team. And Module 3, Person-Centered Planning. The orientation meeting should be scheduled for at least 2 hours to make sure that you have enough time to view these videos and have breaks in between. Next slide. During the orientation meeting, your coordinator of community services will play the video of each module, review the orientation frequently asked questions tool, which is provided by the DDA, and share the contact information of the DDA Self-Directed Services staff, and complete the Self-Directed Services orientation checklist. Next slide. So, what is the orientation checklist? The orientation checklist notes all team members who were present at the orientation meeting. It notes when the 3 videos were completed during the meeting, and it confirms that the frequently asked questions tool was reviewed and that the regional office contact information was shared. Next slide. On the first page of the orientation checklist, you and your coordinator of community services will note your name, address, and phone number, the date of your orientation and the time of your orientation, and whether the orientation was virtual or in person. Next slide. On the next page, list all team members who are present at your orientation. Include the relationship you have with each team member. Next slide. On page 3, check that each of the 3 videos have been watched and the time that they were completed. This makes sure that we have some quality assurance that all 3 videos were reviewed. Next slide. Your coordinator of community services will confirm that they've reviewed the frequently asked questions tool with you and your team. They signed the checklist here to confirm that this was reviewed. Next slide. After reviewing the videos and frequently asked questions tool, the coordinator of community services will share the contact information for the self-directed services lead in the participants region. The coordinator of community services will sign again to confirm that this has been shared. Next slide. This and the next slide contain the contact information that will be shared on the checklist. Next slide. Next slide. After the orientation meeting, the coordinator of community services will upload the completed self-directed services orientation checklist into LTSS Maryland in the client attachments self-direction document section for the participant. It should look like this: orientation checklist dot last name of the participant, first name of the participant dot date. For example, orientation checklist dot Brown Anna dot 11/13/25. Please note that effective on October 6, 2025, financial management and FMCS documents in LTSS Maryland will be renamed self-direction documents. Next slide. Let's review our final example of this webinar. Mel Jenkins is completing this form with the coordinator of community services. They include their address and phone number. They note that the orientation was on July 1st, 2025 and began at 10 o'clock in the morning. The orientation was in person. Next slide. The team members that were in attendance were Mel's coordinator of community services, Elizabeth Jones, their sister, Lisa Jenkins, and their friend, Bev Cooley. Next slide. Here we see that the 3 modules were reviewed and the times that they were completed. Next slide. Here, Elizabeth Jones, the coordinator of community services, is signing it, showing that the frequently asked questions tool was shared. Next slide. And here we see Elizabeth Jones doing the same, showing that the regional office information was shared. Next slide. So this is really a reminder. We've shared this a couple of times in other webinars. The self-directed services orientation is required for anyone interested in self-directing, including those who are new to services and want to self-direct, and those who are currently using the provider-managed services delivery model and want to transition to the self-directed services delivery model. The orientation is not required if you have been self-directing your services before October 6th, 2025. Next slide. If you choose self-direction between October 6th and December 31st, 2025, you must complete the orientation by March 31st, 2026. This makes sure that you can continue to self-direct your services. If you choose to self-direct with an annual plan date of January 1st, 2026 or later, you must complete the orientation before beginning self-directed services. But just as a reminder, if you are currently self-directing your services, you are not required to do the self-directed services orientation. I'll turn it over to Rhonda for more questions and answers.
Thank you, Christy. So a couple people are wondering why the support broker would not be present. And so we know that people who may just now start to be thinking about services and meeting with their coordinator of community services, that coordinator of community services is responsible today and have been responsible to share information about the different service delivery models. And so this process that Christy is sharing about the self-directed services orientation is the kind of first introduction to the participant related to the service delivery model. So at this time, they would not have already a support broker identified or selected. And we already know that our support brokers have completed the self-directed training series, modules 1 through 3 already, so that they're already familiar with that. Christy, anything you want to add related to that?
Absolutely. Support brokers, when you are certified, and that is every year you are certified, you are receiving this information. You're actually tested on the exact videos that are being played here. So you've already received this information and been tested on it. So there's no need for you to be at the orientation to see that information.
And then Christy, someone's wondering, well, if there's this self-directed services orientation training that we're talking about today, what does the support broker do, or what would they provide under kind of that startup orientation services for 15 hours per month? Can you talk about what
a
that?
support broker might do? Yeah. Once a participant has an approved plan, they can use a support broker to provide initial orientation and assistance. It's up to 15 hours of supports after the plan is approved before the plan starts. So there is often a little bit of time where the plan's approved and it hasn't been started, where a participant might want to start advertising for employees. They may want to start contracting with vendors and providers to provide them services. And support brokers are uniquely equipped to help with those things, and so they can help using initial orientation and assistance.
Thank you, Christy. And then we had another question about where people can locate the forms and the frequently asked question document. So we are working with our teams to upload the information to the website. We'll continue to do that. Please bear with us as we upload the information to the website. In future communications, we will also share those links related to the documents. But thank you for sharing that. So I know we have a couple minutes left. Let's finish our slides and then we'll take a few more questions.
Great. We're going to go to our resources. Rhonda, do you want to share this or do you want me to? These next slides.
Whatever works for you, I'm good.
I'm happy to. All right, next slide. This slide is an overview of the additional webinars the DDA has been conducting related to the amendment. So we are at the tail end of our webinar series, but we do have another one on the 3rd regarding updates to LTSS Maryland. On Tuesday, we conducted our waiver changes and U webinar. That includes a review of all the waiver services and what was changed. We encourage you to review the recordings of that webinar and the self-directed services webinar that we did on September the 19th. A link to the recording is going out in our newsletter, and it would have been there in our newsletter. Next slide. If you have any questions or need additional information, please contact your coordinator of community services or your regional office. Next slide. For updates and more details, visit the new October 2025 Waiver Changes and U webpage. We've included a link on this slide. The new webpage is also on the DDA website homepage, so it can be accessed from the left panel as shown on the slide. You can also sign up for updates from us using the link on this slide. And we're happy to share that we have updates to the self-directed services policy and manual that are available on the DDA website as well and linked here. I'll pass it back over to Rhonda for questions.
Thank you, Christy. We're getting a couple questions about the webinar that will be on Friday, October 3rd. Please note it is on Friday, October 3rd, not on Thursday, October 2nd. It is related to LTSS Maryland updates. And so really this webinar is really going to be geared towards coordinators of community services and DDA providers related to updates within the systems for which they work. All stakeholders are welcome to join us, but it will be really geared towards providing updated information for coordinators of community services and DDA providers. I know through some of the questions, we've gotten some, good suggestions related to some other things to consider or change or explore with our forms. People sharing different thoughts and opinions on current standards and rules. So we really appreciate you joining us today and sharing your thoughts and opinions about that. We will take all that and review that as we continue to move forward to partner with stakeholders and look to enhance our services and supports. I know that we seem to be at our time for 1:30 here, so really appreciate your time in joining us. If you have additional questions, person specific especially, please reach out to your DDA regional office. They're available and can help to support you with that. If you have additional questions, you can reach out to us too. But we really appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to meeting with you again as we continue to share information and partner with you. So take care, and we look forward to seeing you sometime soon.